Wow, look at that. You got people shooting at the drones. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we get down in the United States. If you think that you're going to take over this country and it's going to be easy, no, it's not. This is how we get down. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of information in the news. We have some drones flying over New Jersey, flying over New York, and there's even reports of drones being flown over other parts of the country. When I start looking into it and analyzing, that's why it took me a couple of days to really talk about it. I really wanted to see what was going on. I don't think it's something that we need to really worry about. From the alternative news sites that I look at, alternative information, because you can't get the real story from CNN or Fox. This is nothing but a government drill. What you have to understand, I know we don't get the full story, but the world is moving into a very dangerous situation in Europe. Quietly, we are gearing up, we're greasing up everything, and we're getting ready for a possible war. Russia just about 3 weeks ago tested a new hypersonic weapon. And from the information I have, there's two parts of it. Part one is that those drones are used. It's a drill to overwhelm a missile defense air surface air defense battery. The Russians and the Chinese have a similar system called the S-300 and the S-400. All right, very capable systems. They're a little better than our Patriot system that we have. But if anybody doesn't understand what the S-400 and the S-300 is, if you understand what the Patriot system is, it's kind of similar to that. If you want to go ahead and attack an area and the S-400 or the S-300 is in that area, it makes no sense to go ahead and send in a $50 million plane. So what they're doing is they're practicing drones to fly in formation as a practice on how to overwhelm a missile, a surface to air missile defense system. That's really what phase one that I'm understanding what this really is. Most of the time when we see drones fly, they fly independently, they don't fly together. From what you see and a lot of footage, these drones are flying in some kind of formation. All right. So most like what we're seeing is practice runs of them seeing how it looks. You know, they're analyzing how the drones move together. Because what'll happen is that let's say there's an area where they want to go ahead and bomb an area or attack an area, but they're up against these missile defense systems. If you send in a plane, I mean, you're going to lose the plane, especially with the S-400 and the S-300. They're very capable systems. So what you want to do is overwhelm the system. Each battery might have 10 missiles, might be less, but we'll use the number 10. So let's say there's a battery. A battery is a unit. So there's 3 units in the area guarding a missile, base, or it's guarding some kind of installation. What you'll do is you send a swarm of drones. So if there's 3 batteries, there's 30 missiles. You send in a swarm of 60 drones, and they shoot all 30 out of the sky. You have another 30 to overwhelm that target. So from what I'm understanding, they're practicing their new system where all the drones are flying in sync. A second is the size of the drones. These systems are not going to pick up drones that are, your regular household drones or maybe something a little bit bigger. For what I'm understanding, these drones are the size of a car. So the reason for that is that they can be picked up on radar. Now, the reason you want to do that is send drones that are worth 100,000 as opposed to a plane that's worth 50 million. So maybe a couple of $1 million gets shot out of the sky, where you send one plane that's worth $50 million and it's shot out the sky and you get nothing. You don't hit the target. You get maybe $10 million worth of equipment shot out the sky, but another $20 million of equipment makes it to its target and takes out that target. Scenario number 2 that I'm hearing from alternative news is that because things are escalating in Europe, there is talk that the Russians have maybe snuck a nuclear weapon into the United States on the East Coast. And what those drones are actually are radiation detectors. You can buy a handheld radiation detector and you could put it on your phone and it'll pick up the radiation from your phone. These things are the size of a car. They can fly over an area with highly advanced radiation detectors, and they could tell if, there's some kind of nuclear material in a warehouse, in a basement of a house, in the back of a van, or in the back of a truck. They could scan a whole neighborhood. So scenario number two is what I'm hearing. That's what's going on. They have some kind of intelligence that maybe something was snuck into the United States, and they're flying these advanced drones to scan the area for nuclear material. Okay. Another thing is when you hear the press talk about these drones, they say they don't know what it is, but it's not a threat. So right there tells me that it's the government. All right. If you got to think logically, if it was a foreign country that was actually flying drones into our country, we would have shot them down. The reason we're not shooting them down is because they actually belong to us. Now, someone brought this to my attention. Every drone of a certain type, like planes, like heavy equipment that flies in the sky, needs a red and green light on them via the FFA. These drones have green and red lights. So you're going to tell me we have an adversary, an enemy that is flying drones that comply with FFA rules? Come on. Now, people will say, well, why doesn't the government just tell us? The government tells us nothing. Rule number one in the government is not to tell us anything. They look at us as, shut up and be quiet. Don't worry about it. You think that the government told us and gave us a memo when they were making nuclear weapons? The Manhattan Project? You think they told Miss Sally Mae that lived down the block? It's none of your business. That's the way they look at it with us. Don't worry about it. They don't need to know anything. So the government's not going to tell us what they're doing. That's just how they operate. Another thing is you have to understand about drones is that drones are not long range weapons or long range systems. 100 miles for a drone is really long. Drones are short range weapons. Okay? So for those things to fly, especially in the United States off the East Coast, not next to Canada, not next to Mexico. For those to fly in that manner tells me that they are coming from within the United States. And the fact that they're the size of a car tells me whose equipment this is. These are US government experimental vehicles, US government practice drones, whatever it is, it's coming from our government. When we see these drones in the sky, we're seeing our tax money flying in the sky. So I don't think there's anything for us to worry about, okay? But there are situations that are making the government, that's happening in the world right now, that's making the government nervous. And it's the potential for war, okay? Things are real serious in Europe right now. And the news is just not telling us. We are actually hitting Russia with long range weapons inside of Russia. Things could get out of hand at any moment. And I believe the United States government is just gearing up for what can potentially happen. So I don't think at the end result, I think everything is okay. If you live in Jersey, go ahead and fire at those things. Have a good time. But it's not an alien invasion. It's not an enemy. It's not Iran. It's not China. It's taxpayers' money with experimental drones flying in the sky over the East Coast. And with that, I'm out. You have a good one.